So we've got over 100 students that are part of our academy, and we've got some U.S. connections as well. Let's see here, what do we got? So what we do for events, so we've got these free monthly workshops that are super good. So how many people here have been here before? All right, how many people here are new? And how many people are not going to stick up their hand no matter what I ask? All right, so we also offer workshops. So last month I did a rent-to-own workshop, and that was about 3 weeks ago. And coming up shortly in March, Vern's going to be doing a buy, rent, rinse, and repeat workshop. What day is that, Vern? March 7th. Okay, cool. And do you know where that's going to be? Okay, so you mean Royal LePage? Yeah, Royal LePage. Yeah, cool. So those are workshops that you can come out to. They are nominal fee, basically to cover the cost. If you're a student, those are also free. So part of what we do here is, as you know, you guys came in, and afterwards is a great opportunity to network, to meet other people who are taking action with their real estate projects, as well as people who've never done anything before. And rubbing shoulders with people like that is fantastic. So what our academy is our education thing. Really, we are a post-secondary education unit. And what I mean by that is, you know, to do your first deal is really much like getting a bachelor's degree. So how many people here have a bachelor's degree? What were you able to achieve after a bachelor's degree? Got a government job? Okay, investors group? Okay, cool. So our bachelor's degree is called a silver program. Basically that helps you get a deal under your belt, whether you want to do a flip, if you want to do a buy, rent, and hold, if you want to learn how to wholesale, all that sort of stuff. That's what that is. And then we have what's called a gold and then platinum, and those are really like a master's degree. How many people here have their masters? 3 people. Okay, 3 people have their masters. Anybody have their PhD? Right. There you go. Well, you pretty much are retired now. So with that, each level, you know, you grow into those sort of education modes. And I totally lost my train of thought what I was going to say. Right. Platinum, yeah. And so education is super important. I am a lifelong learner. I got my bachelor's, I got my master's. I'm not actively using my master's that I studied for, but I learned it for a very specific job that I did for about 10 years. That was great. Do I regret it? Absolutely not. But some people go back to school just because, or go to school just because they don't know what else to do. And even, you know, my kids, so they're all, you know, thinking about school and stuff like that. And our youngest is actually in grade 12. And he's talking about school. And it's like, okay, so why do you want to go back to school? Why do you think he would want to go to U of M or U of W or to a Bible college for studies? Why would he want to do that? Any guesses? Security, because everyone else does, yeah. Yeah, figure out what he wants to do. And maybe he really maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe he really knows what he wants to do, and he needs a public education to get that, and that's great. I'm all about education, but not for the sake of I don't know what else to do. So we've really encouraged him to not go back to school until he knows what he wants to do. If he wants to become a psychiatrist, which is something that he's interested in, yeah, you need to go to school. You need to get that formal education. If he wants to become a landlord like his dad or a developer like his dad, he doesn't need to go back to formal education to do that, right? So just to give you an example of how committed I am to releasing my kids from going to school. So my oldest, this is a number of years ago, he was going back second year in college in Abbotsford, British Columbia. And So we made it a family trip. We drove stateside. We went through Montana and all that stuff and stopped in Billings and great antique stores there. And so we're walking around, and I hear Harrison, that's his name. I say, he says something about his goals. And, you know, like in the next year and future years, nothing to do with his education, right? And we're spending 20 grand a year on this private school. And so I kind of pipe up and say, what's that, Harrison? Because I was behind a few steps. And I guess the other two boys heard the tone of my voice. They quickly walked really fast in front of us, and we kept talking. So this ended up being a 3-day conversation where it's like, he's going back to school, but why, right? And so we processed that, and I can't remember our next stop, and then we stayed in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, beautiful place, and so we're processing it there, and he talking like, do you feel like you need to go back to school because we're pressuring you? And like, no. And then finally the next day, we sit down with them as we're leaving to head up to Kelowna now. We're making our way to Abbotsford. We're seeing some family in Kelowna. And so he sits down. We're sitting at a Starbucks before we leave, and he goes, yeah, I don't want to go back to school. So my wife, Holly, just about fell off her chair. Because here we are, we're committed. We're going on this trip. Everyone's with us. The van's loaded. And mentally, I was already prepared for it because I was encouraging him to think about not going back to school because just going back to school for that, right? So anyways, we kept driving, and that day, you know, Holly and I were talking while we're driving, and the kids are in the back, and we're trying to figure this out. What does this mean? So it's like, when we get to Kelowna, okay, Harrison, you really sure about this? He goes, yeah, I'm sure. So we sit everybody down, and my youngest, Jackson, we said, so we got an announcement for you guys. Why did you say it like that? It seems so formal. I said, guys, we need to talk. We need to talk about some family stuff. And then Jackson, I don't know if he was tuned into some stuff, but he said, I don't care what you talk about, just as long as Harrison's not coming back with us. And he was. That was the whole shtick there. Harrison was coming back with us. So all that to say is education is important, but for the right reason. So that's my little spiel on education.